right, so this is part 4 of the salary survey analysis tool build. We have completed all of the calculations and the back-end logic that I should need. I may need to add a couple other things as we go.
Nothing.
Sarah is joining us as well.
Yes. I'll be in and out though until children are in bed.
So next up, we are going to begin the UI build. We're going to actually start building out some components and hopefully adding to this page over here, which up until now has been very
Hello world.
Hello world.
Yeah.
All right, so one of the first things I have to do is go to Chart.js because this is the library I have decided to use. I really didn't include anybody in that decision.
Nope.
All right, so let's see. First I need to figure out how to pull this thing in. Apparently there's a CDN.
What's a CDN?
Content Delivery Network, I think is basically it hosts static files and it hosts them in a geographically dispersed way so that, it's more likely that there's a server like down the street that I'm pulling from as opposed to having to hit the original site.
Gotcha.
But so they host it out, they host their stuff out here, and so I can pull them down. So this is the distribution code for it. Now I think this is what we're going to do. I think I'm going to try to do an import on it. So let's do this. Let's create a new component file. And we'll call this one Histograms.js. And import, well, I don't know if that's an ES6. Let's see. I don't know if that's actually an ES6 module. Chart.js ES6 module. Let's see. Import the example below, how to load chart in different systems. I don't know if this is going to work or not. From and my app. Import histogram from /components. Welcome. /components /histogram.js. I don't know if this is going to work or not. I don't know if that one's actually set. Let's find out. The requested module does not provide an export named default. All right, so that didn't fly. Cannot load common modules. I'm not sure which one I need here. Installation. Let's see. Trying to figure out how to install this guy. Bundle. Let's try this one. Oh. Ah. Nope, still no go. All right. I don't want to sit here and spend all my time playing around on figuring out the ES6. Standalone build, bundled build. All right, I'm just going to add a library. And we'll do Chart.js. And we'll go back to our CDN. We'll grab the minified version. And I'm just going to copy it down. I'll just keep a copy of it locally. And let's see. Non-ES6 module. No, not in the Webpack. Let's see, import statement, strict mode, the import module. Bindings imported are called live bindings, function like dynamic import, which does not require. All right, so looks like I'm just going to have to live with this one being a little bit different than what I had hoped. That's all right. Script source equal to // lib / chart.js. There we go. And no longer needs an import because we're not actually using. There we go. All right, so since we're not actually using the ES6 version of Chart.js, since I'm having a bit of trouble figuring that one out right now, we're just going to use the global version. So with that in mind, let's see, let's go ahead and create our ES6 Web Components. And I just need a basic template to get started. And where are you? Web Components. This one. There we go. That's the. So this is kind of the basic start of a web component. So we're going to call this one Histogram. And for those who aren't familiar, web components are a fairly new standard in JavaScript that allows you to create custom elements in vanilla HTML. So like, for example, on this one, I believe there is a requirement that they use a dash for custom elements. So we will call this one Salary Histogram. And so including this custom element, including this file in our HTML document will let us do something like create an element like this in our HTML, and it will be controlled by this JavaScript here. Now, of course, we actually have to spell it right. All right, there we go. Salary histogram. So for example, you can see that it's got hello world here. If I jump back out here to, let's go to this guy, and let's do salary histogram. And let's just kind of see what this gets us. You can see it outputs the hello world. So that is coming from this inner HTML. The connected callback is called automatically by the framework. So now we've got a basic web component set up, and we can start to build this out a little more. Now, web components have some different lifecycle hooks. Lifecycle hooks. So I'm going to pull these up because I honestly don't remember these off the top of my head. If you've spent any time watching any of my videos, you'll know that I spend most of my time Googling like anybody else. So let's see here. Yep. Where's the... not save. Lifecycle. Lifecycle callbacks. Here we go. Connected callback is invoked when it's appended, adopted, and attribute changed. So these are the four main lifecycle hooks. I thought there was another one. I could have swore there was another one. Oh well. We'll stick with the connected callback. So first of all, for the inner HTML, if I go back to my Chart.js, they would like a canvas. So what I'm going to do is use a canvas as my primary element. I'm going to make my ID dynamic. Welcome back.
Yes, I'm back. So you got it installed?
Yeah, I decided to install it globally rather than locally because I couldn't figure out how to do the... I couldn't figure out where they kept their ES6 module set up. So I just installed it globally as a regular JavaScript library.
Oh, okay.
And now I am creating the histogram web component. So going off of this documentation here, you have to provide a canvas element. The canvas needs to have an ID in order to draw. Well, maybe not. Let's see. Any of the following formats may be used. My chart. No, all I have to do is provide a context. So I think all it needs is an element. I don't think I actually need the ID because I'm using a web component. And we're going to try that. We're going to see how this works. So first I'm going to set the inner HTML. Second, why are you spaces? Oh, because I copied it from somebody else.
I felt like there was some disdain when you said that.
I don't like double spaces. I'm a tabber.
You're a tabber. Oh,
I'm a tabber,
tabbers.
dang it.
Tabbers. Oh.
All right, so now let's see. So I'm going to do this dot chart. So that's going to create a property on this web component that is the chart. And we're going to say new chart. No, not this dot chart. Don't autocomplete me. I know what I'm doing, in theory. All right, so var ctx, so our context is going to be get elements by, let's see, DOM get child element. Let's see if there's a way for us to, or actually, hold on. What happened?
No can has.
Web components get child element. Am I down? Google's server IP address could not be found. Well, that was weird. And now it's back. Okay. Good old Stack Overflow. Document.query selector. Let's see. Mutation observer. Document.query selector. Enter adjacent HTML. Or insert adjacent HTML. I don't think that answered my question. Query selector. All I want is to get a child element, and I can't remember how to do it. I've been doing AngularJS for so long, I can't remember basic DOM manipulation. This.shadow.query selector. Let's try the query selector. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to comment this out first. We're going to say this dot query selector canvas, and let's log out the CTX and see what that gives us, because I'm honestly not sure offhand. Ooh, that looks, maybe? No, that's not what I expected. That's a completely different thing. Oh, here it is, canvas with, oh, perfect. That gave us the canvas element. That's what I was hoping to get a hold of. So hopefully we can take the next step. So it looks like by accessing the web component using this, it looks like this class here may actually be the element. Let me do some formatting because I've got to fix those spaces. Okay, so now we want to pass that element as the context per our Chart.js documentation. And then we need to pass the configuration object. So this is where we need, and Sarah disappeared again, which kind of sucks because she really wanted to see this part. We'll catch her up when she gets back. You're too late. It's already over. You missed it. I'm so mean. So we're going to do type bar. Let's go find, here we go. Type bar data. Let's look at how this one's actually set up for real life. All right, so we've got type bar data is an object in this case, and it has labels. Let's just call it salary for now. We'll deal with the fallout later. Good morning, Druv. How's it going? And then data sets. Okay, so data sets in Chart.js is basically our data series. So oh, wait a second, I messed up on something. We'll go back and correct it. So this one is actually going to be salary. So this is the label of our series. The labels up here is in fact the x-axis labels. So for now, I'm just going to plunk 30, 30 to 35. Oh, festival season's about to begin. So what all does that entail? I'm not particularly familiar with festival season. And data. So this is the values, and right now I've got 3 columns. So we'll just do 25, 30, 35, and let's see what this gets us. A whole lot of nothing. Not what I was looking for. That's what we got. Let's see. Am I missing something? Chart. Let's see. Salary histogram has a canvas. Its width and height were set to nothing. That's weird.
So I missed the thing?
You didn't miss much. Basically what I did was I used this .query selector in order to get the canvas element that I'm creating with inner HTML.
How do you know to do this query selector? Is that part of the Chart.js?
That's no, query selector is is part of the DOM. It's part of JavaScript's native DOM. Not that kind of DOM. So, no, I think it's called the document object model, I think is what the acronym's for. Okay. Basically, it's how you manipulate elements through JavaScript.
Oh, okay, so this is just one of those context
vanilla
things
JavaScript.
I need to know.
Right. This is just vanilla JavaScript.
I'm going to do a blog series on how I suck at JavaScript.
The new chart that you see here, this is actually part of the Chart.js, and it accepts an element as context, and it accepts a configuration object, which is the configuration of the chart you want to build. So bar chart, here's the data, x-axis labels, and y-axis series. And series name, series values. And you can see each data point lines up with an x-axis category. So that's all there is to setting up a Chart.js chart. What I have to do now is wire in my data
maps your data.
So that it maps my data into the chart, but I'm having trouble getting it to actually show on the web page right now. It doesn't like me.
What does the HTML look like for this? What do you put in that makes that JavaScript go to
that makes this go boom?
Yes.
Okay, so this last line uses the custom elements API. It's another vanilla API in JavaScript, just available in almost any browser. IE 11 is kind of flunky about it. There are some ways of getting around it, but truth be told, IE 11 doesn't even support the ES6 classes, I don't think. So in order for this to work in IE 11, I would have to transpile it into ES5 script using a build tool.
We could just not use IE 11.
Which is what I'm doing, because I don't care. It's my tool and it only has to work in Chrome. But no, if I was trying to do something similar to this in a way that supported all browsers, then I would transpile. And if you look at ServiceNow's new UX framework, it is using, I believe, Babel and possibly even Webpack I think from my reverse engineering of it, I think I saw Webpack hooks in there. But it is transpiling it into ES5 so that it can be,
Okay.
so that it has better cross-browser compatibility. And also because JSX isn't a browser-supported language, so it has to be compiled into something else anyway. But this custom elements, you are defining a custom element with this tag name. All right, I think we're back. I think I dropped off there for a second. I was doing some, had to. All right, I think I'm back.
Are you back?
I think we're back. Click here to reload chat. Let's see. Let me jump over to Slack here. So apparently we're having some network issues there for a second. We seem to be back. I'm going to give this another shot this evening, and if it doesn't work, then I guess we'll try again tomorrow.
Try again tomorrow. I don't think there are any tests that I have to help people study for, so.
Okay, so let's try to get stuff caught back up here. So we're building out the histogram.
Yes.
We were discussing.
You were going to show me the HTML.
Yeah, so you see this salary histogram, okay? All right, so basically what we were discussing was this histogram custom component. We were discussing how this works with the HTML. So this is using the custom elements API. It's creating a custom tag name called salary-histogram. And it's passing this histogram class, which defines how it's used. Connected callback is a special function called a lifecycle hook. Basically, the browser calls this. Okay. And this is where you set up all of the different things that you want it to do when it loads up. So you can kind of compare this to anything that you put inside the client controller that isn't inside a function, but just sits in the client controller function itself. That's kind of what the connected callback is, in a roundabout way. And if I jump back to the index.html, you'll see I have this salary-histogram element. That is what is actually binding that to the HTML. So now this element is being controlled by this histogram class.
And how it all looks and everything is controlled in the Chart.js.
Is controlled. So the first thing that I do when the element loads, okay, so first I'll have my element. The first thing I do is I set inner HTML to this canvas, which is going to create this canvas element here in the actual rendered page. Then I use the DOM manipulation to get that element, and I pass it to my Chart.js in order to render that particular chart, and the Chart.js library takes over from there. Now the problem I'm having is that it is doing something, but not what I hoped. So I need to go back to Chart.js.
You're missing stuff.
I'm missing something. Something's not wiring up correctly. So vertical bar chart. Let's see if I can look at the script. Okay. Bar chart data. Okay. New chart. So it's putting it in a window.onload. I don't think I should need that though. Oh, wait a second. Maybe that's the issue. So what I'm seeing here is that the CTX is actually a canvas context. It's not the canvas itself. So I think I need to do a get context 2D, save it.
Oh, there it is. Oh, that's not it?
No, that
Oh,
wasn't
that was
mine.
something else. I saw a chart and I was like, oh, there
Got
it
all
is.
excited. Nothing. Still not getting what I need out of it. CTX. Okay, if I go to console, let's see, MHZ says, seems like you're adding the salary histo into the histogram, but we can't see where you're telling the histogram to actually display. Yeah, so I'm trying to I'm trying to pass the histogram, or sorry, the this histogram. I am trying to pass it to the canvas element context that I'm building there. So you can see that console.log I just added is getting the canvas rendering context 2D. But my canvas is still showing as width 0, height 0, and I don't know why. Reload. Let's see. So canvas, width 400, height 400. So it is drawing my canvas. So then I'm supposed to pass that 2D context. Let's see if we can go back and find a simpler, oops, not that one. Get started. Usage. Any of the following formats may be used. Once you have the element or context, you're ready to instantiate a predefined chart type or create your own. The following example instantiates a bar chart showing the number of votes. So ctx document.get element by ID, new chart. All right, let me try something. Let's see about just giving it an ID. Nothing. Chart.js Web Component. Let's see if there's not something I'm missing. Where's your get link? Is there one of those actually on a page somewhere that you can view source to compare how the elements are rendering? Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm trying to take a look at, is I'm trying to find some source. This is TypeScript.
Is this just supposed to like work and it's because you're doing it a certain way, or?
So my running theory right now, My running theory right now is that it's related to my using a web component. That something about this connected callback, for whatever reason, stuff isn't ready.
Can you make it work without the web component?
Maybe. Okay, so let's try. I'm going to try something. Let's try doing this after document.onload. And I don't expect this to make a difference, but let's see. Nope, didn't. All right. Curiosity satisfied. All right, let's go back to this web component here. So the way he does it is in a first updated render, update completed, update chart. Oh, you're using lit element. That doesn't. Let's see. Well, let me try something simple. Let's do this. Let's comment this guy out. Let's comment the web component out for now. And let's just try.
It's like my favorite way of fixing problems in JavaScript. Just comment it out, the problem goes away.
Comment it out, the problem goes away.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's grab this. And let's just try directly embedding a script in the page. I don't know why that's being so kludgy. Okay, so this dot chart, we need to get rid of that and go var chart. Let's just see if I can do it the simple way. No. All right, so let's try and take their exact example. And I think this is what MHZ was telling me to do, was take a known working example. Okay, let's take this guy. Oh, I forgot my context. So let's document.get element by ID. ID is chart. Save it. Load it. Okay. So we have a chart at this point, just not using the web component. Get element by ID chart. And then we pass it the context. All right. So I kind of want to get this working in the web component, if I can. If this proves too complicated and it's taking me too long, then I'll abandon it and go with a more ES5 vanilla way of handling things.
Your ability to stick to something is so much better than mine. I would have been like, heck with this a long time ago.
Well, I want to understand why it's not working in the histogram.
It's not important. It's just not working. That's all we need to know.
Well, so if you see here, if I drop it straight in, and I have a canvas with an ID of chart, and then I have a script tag where I do document, get element by ID, chart.
And chart stuff.
And chart stuff. Almost everything's the same. Let's just eliminate the last element. Okay, so it's not that issue either. But if you see here, I'm using get element by ID. I'm getting the canvas by ID. I'm doing everything the same.
He says find a page that's actually rendering the histogram in Canvas and see if anything stands out.
Well, yeah, and that's what we just did is
okay.
I took,
Sorry, I didn't see that.
yeah, I took this kind of known good setup here and I rendered it using a more traditional method and it worked fine. It's,
you just want to know why your way is not working.
yes, I just want to know why my way is not working. I want it to work in the web component. I'm being stubborn about it.
Like, we are so different in how we do this. I'm like, no, there's a point. You know, if you're going for a certain architecture or something like that to set yourself up for laying out the rest of your application later, that's one thing.
Let's see. I want to say this is the one I've used before. Constructor, an instance of the element is created or upgraded, useful for initializing states, setting event listeners, creating shadow DOM. For restrictions on what you can do in the constructor, called every time the element is inserted into the DOM. Removed from the DOM.
I agree.
What? Better to know why if you have the time?
Oh, absolutely. I'm just
Yeah.
impatient, and I'm willing to be impatient because I'm not actually the one coding. I'm just watching right now. So y'all can ignore me on that note.
Let me try moving it to the constructor just to see if that makes a difference. Well, that blew up. Oh. Let's make sure we call super. Okay. So that did nothing to help it. What's interesting to me is the way it keeps changing the width and height to 0. That is not doing nothing. Let's see. Package, Chart.js, Web Components. Let's see how they do it in Lightning Components. Rendered callback. Template query selector. Get context. New window.chart. Style height 100%, style width 100%. Let's see. Parent node style. Not sure on this one. They're basically doing everything more or less the same way. So I'm going to switch back to what I had before, because I don't think it's any of those. This.query selector, get context. That sample page had is Chart.js initialized. Let's see. Go back. Let's see. Let's see if they do anything to initial. See, they don't do anything to initialize here. So I think that the initializing in this script is because they are using a promise to load Chart.js. So they are using JavaScript to load that particular file, and then they're marking it as initialized. Let's see. Chart.js won't draw in a web component. Data, fruit maps, nope. Inside the canvas element with the options, you have the ability to turn them off. So no legend and no chart of the framework is shown. Doesn't fit the data structure required by Chart.js. That's not the case for ours. What's really killing me is the fact that there's not a single error related to this. That's the kicker of the whole thing. Maybe I need options. Let's see. Well, when I did it this way, it didn't require options. Would being in a custom element change that? Let's see. Custom element. I'm gonna try. So this is one cool thing in ES6 is that these little backticks are multi-line. Style / style. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Host display block. I don't know if that's going to make a difference or not, but we'll try it. Nope. Well, I actually think host pertains to Shadow DOM, so that probably wouldn't work anyway. Salary Histogram. Oh, there we go. Solved it.
What was the issue?
So the problem was that the salary histogram element, when you define custom elements, those custom elements don't start as display block. I'm honestly not sure what they start. Inline. Okay. So they apparently start as inline by default. And for whatever reason, embedding a canvas and having the Chart.js library draw to it,
You've got to set the display
it
value.
has to be block.
So, you know, my knowledge on this kind of stuff is just like non-existent, but it crossed my mind. I bet you that the display, because I thought it's not display none, but I thought I bet you it's something with a display in the CSS. That's what I would have checked because CSS is what I know. But I figured no, it's got to be something else.
Well, see,
That's why I didn't say anything. I should have said something earlier.
I was kind of hoping that it was drawing it, but not showing it because the display was off.
Yeah.
But it turns out that I guess however it draws the chart won't even draw it properly if it's not display block from the start. So that was interesting. That was unexpected. Now that I think about it, though, I really should have banked on that because Leaflet.js, which is the mapping the mapping toolkit that we used at Map Anything, is the exact same way. You have to have a block level or a display block element that has some appropriate size to it, or it won't render properly. That initial render will just go to pot. So that's actually pretty cool. So now
So you got it working?
I got this initially working. Now, how do I want to go about this? All right, so I need to be able to pass data. And I need to be able to pass. All right, so we need to be able to change the labels. And we need to be able to change the data. Those are the two important aspects that we need to be able to change here. So, custom elements, web components allow you to pass this stuff through attributes, which will probably feel familiar to directives in AngularJS. So we can do the same thing in these custom components.
Yay, CSS tricks.
Oh, I love this website. This website is amazing for everything.
This one is my favorite out of all the different sites that offer information on CSS classes because it lays it out and it gives you examples of it in use. And a lot of the other ones just don't.
Okay, so we have properties and attributes. I don't particularly care about the properties right now. What I really want is the attributes. And that comes down to this attribute changed callback, which name, old value, new value, which feels very ServiceNow-y. All right, so you can listen to attribute changes. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to see if these attribute changes, I can't remember if it fires on initial load or not. So we're going to find out. So basically what this does is it reads the element attributes. So if I create this data attribute, reload, negative. So it does not do so on load. All right. Let's see, where can we go from here? All right, at this point, I kind of want to we're not going to take the cheater method and just import it.
Cheater, cheater.
Excuse me. All right, so ultimately I'm going to need to pass the data and the labels, and those got to come from somewhere. And that somewhere should probably be a higher level component. So normally when you're working with React.js, when you're working with AngularJS, most of these frameworks have some sort of root element to it. They have some application element that wraps all the others. So I'm just going to follow suit and create an app.js component. And what we'll do is we'll just grab the whole daggone thing, and we'll call this one the salary app. And salary app HTML element. I do want the this.inner HTML, but the rest of it can go away. And what I want is a what was it? Salary histogram. All right, so what I'm going to do here is save this guy, and we're going to come back to my app.js, and we will also import as app from /components/ not histogram, app.js. Yeah, so what I am doing is I'm creating a tree of components. So instead of salary histogram, we're going to change this one to salary app. This becomes the root element for the application.
Oh, and the actual histogram will be kind of in that?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
So now we reload. Everything seems to be okay. Yep, see, so this is the net result. So I have a salary app, which contains a salary histogram, which has all the other stuff in it.
Okay.
Okay. So, the reason I want to do this is because we're going to need something that accepts. Actually, technically, I may not need that, because what I can do is I can pull my store in, and yeah, let's do it that way. Now, we'll keep going down this road. I'll pull the store into the app level. So import, where is my store? Sitting over here in app.js, and I'm just taking a look at it real quick. All right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to yank this out. We're going to get rid of this one. And I'm going to pull this into this particular component, or into this particular file. We're going to delete this one. And we're just going to use this. We'll get rid of that guy. And so right now I'm just moving some stuff around.
That's what I figured.
Okay, save, reload, still works. Okay, so what I did was I moved my my app component out of the components folder and I moved it up to my root app file. And the reason for that is because I want access to the store. This store variable, and I didn't feel like doing a bunch of, well, frankly, that would have been a circular import if I had imported the store from here. So now I have access to the store variable from within this particular HTML element. And as I've said in previous episodes, this code is not clean. If I was a little more concerned with architecture and structure, I'd probably go about this whole thing a little bit differently just in terms of where I put the code. The code itself would be pretty much identical, but organization would be a little bit better.
Would you say you're writing dirty?
Yes, I am writing dirty.
In the rest of our lives, you like inundate me with your horrible puns, but this is like my revenge moment right here.
I'm trying to be professional, dang it. I apologize, Marty, this model is not to scale. Oh. All right, so next, I need to be able to wire up some of these events and such. So basically what I want is for store.subscribe to actually reside in my root element. So what this is going to create, and if I haven't mentioned the, what's this? Oh, I actually need this in the connected. So for those who haven't been following from the very beginning, the store is kind of like a Redux store. So essentially, I am going to dispatch actions to the store, and then I can subscribe to those changes in the store. So this gives me a dispatch subscribe, a pub sub sort of model. And so basically what I'm saying here is I will be able to pass the store down to other components so that they can dispatch events. Events will be emitted up towards the store and dispatched to it. And then the subscribe can then pass information, can pump information back down. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to create a method on this called render. And it'll accept a state. And what we're going to do is this dot inner HTML is equal to, and we're going to keep this at a very poor man's render right now, not using lit element or any of the big fancies to draw this stuff out. All right, so we're going to move that to there. And so if my store bindings work correctly, what I should be able to do is, for now, we'll just do this dot render, and we'll pass state to it, save, and nothing. Dang it. Are the dispatch, okay, here we go. Here's some errors. Cannot read property render of null. Es6 class methods. Maybe I have the syntax wrong. Let's see. constructor. No. Return this .calc area. Ooh, I think I know what the problem is. Var self is equal to this. Betcha I'm losing the context of self when I'm calling this function. I believe I'm yeah. So the store is calling this function in a null context, so there is no this. So I'm going to use a closure to wrap this and inject it in that way. There we go. Okay.
This is so, like, you lost me after you installed it.
Okay, so something you're probably not as familiar with is this. Have you used the keyword this in JavaScript much yet?
No, but I know in the client script it says variable
C equals this, correct. So from a portal standpoint, when you're in the client script, it says var C is equal to this. This is a special keyword in JavaScript that basically passes a context. So in this case, this refers to the instance of this class, of the class. I'm going to try not to use the word in the definition. So this refers to the
so this class.
That guy.
Okay.
Okay. That's what this is referring to.
Okay.
This has a connected callback. This has a render method.
Why'd they call it this? Like, that is a very bad vernacular decision.
This object right here.
But what about that object over there?
There is no that keyword.
There is no spoon?
There is no spoon. It's just a this keyword. So this refers to the current object, essentially. Right, and MHC points out that you see this a lot in script includes as well. And you can create properties and methods inside the class and you call them with this. So
Gotcha.
If I were to create multiple salary app tags, there would be, let's say that I had 3 different salary apps embedded in here, okay? Then there would be 3 instances of the class and 3 different thises. So when I say this dot render, I'm saying the render that belongs to the current object. But in my subscribe function, I am explicitly calling this function with no this context at all. What? Too much thises and that's?
No, I'm calling this function with no this at all. Well, then you're not calling this function. You're just calling function. I'm sorry. It's funny. I see what you're saying.
So the anonymous function here has no knowledge of this, but because of JavaScript scopes, I can say var self. I could just as easily say var C is equal to this and c.render. But I'm going with self just because it's a convention I've used forever.
Oh, thank you.
She is a phenomenal sidekick. I love having her in these. Eventually, she's going to start doing her own streams, and I'm going to get to try to be a sidekick.
Oh, yeah. We'll design some things, and I'll judge your font choices. It'll be lovely.
All right, so we are now rendering again. But what I want to do is I want to change the properties that I'm injecting in. So this is where stuff starts to get kind of cool with web components because I can do
this. Y'all should see the look I'm getting.
I don't like you.
To incorporate videos so
I don't like you. I don't like you.
That was funny and you know it.
Was not funny. and you are a mean and terrible person.
This only applies to the things that are in network. Okay, yeah. That's a
Yes,
good analogy.
yes.
But if you were talking about if you had like 3 instances of that in your HTML, how would this know which one it was referring to? Does it like independently take each instance as
yeah,
this?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to think about it this way,
kind of like if there was a ng repeat, and for each item in the sequence you had a this, it was this.
So this specifically works thanks to the new keyword. Var C is equal to new salary app. Okay. So HTML doesn't do anything.
No.
Okay. HTML has to have logic code that does stuff to it or with it. So in the browser sees this custom element.
Yes.
And what it's going to do is it's going to say, I need a new salary app for that element. Okay. If I were to do that 2 additional times, A, B, and C all have different thises. So if I were to call a.render, okay, then when I say this.innerHTML is equal to something, I'm saying A's inner HTML. A's this, or B's this, or C's this. So all of the this variables become tied to this, to dang it, to one specific instance of that object.
Yes,
each room, right, to MHZ's point, each room has its own this, and each of these objects is its own room. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
That does make sense. He gave a non-code physical example, and that was really helpful.
All right, so I went back to inner HTML being in the connected callback because I decided that in the render function, what I'm going to do is I'm going to manipulate attributes. So what I'm going to do is say, no, I do need to get the histogram is equal to this dot query selector salary histogram. All right, so now in my render function, I can access the dot set attribute. Okay, so what I want to do is say this dot histogram dot set attribute to, and I'm going to do this real crude like, and this is going to get messy. Messy. Actually,
don't write messy code. We're teaching people.
I don't have to do this messy because I can skip the attributes because of how I'm going about this. I'm going to do it as a property because properties are more sensible.
Yeah, but you gotta put taxes on them.
Really? Taxes on the properties? That's where we're going?
Tax. I'm sorry, it's there. I can't help it. Like, doing this at night brings out my inner Travis with all of its punny glory.
Oh.
What?
Just you and your puns.
These are the puns you deserve, not the puns you need.
All right, so store has a state. My data is going to be, I need my selectors. That's what I need. That's what I'm missing. So let's do var histogram data is equal to get histograms, and we're going to pass the state to it. All right, so this is using the get histograms selector function that we built last time, and this is going to give me this object here, which is my data element that I need. So please don't suggest that to ServiceNow. That is a new pay model, tax on your properties. Oh no. Man, we already got the charge per tables and
Per field, no custom. Oh,
per
the first 50 custom fields free.
You can have the first 5 widget properties free. After that, it's a charge per widget property.
Man, then they'll do that to like instance options, and I'll cry because I want to do everything.
Oh my goodness. We love you, ServiceNow. We just don't like your pricing. But let's be honest, it really doesn't matter how you price it.
We're going to whine about it.
We're probably going to whine about it anyway.
You should make it free. No, wait, we like her job.
That would be counterproductive. This dot histogram data is equal to histogram data dot parent. Whew, man. Okay.
I'm go to bed soon. I'm tired.
I know, but I'm almost there. I'm almost there. Okay.
Would you say you're going to take it about this far?
Yes, I'm going to take it about this far. Oy vey. All right. I need no, not that one. From app data responses. Did I not import responses in here from anywhere? Import app data responses. I guess not. I guess. Let's see. App data responses has my bins. And I need my bins. Let's put it on the state. Where's my state reducer? Create store. Here's my big reducer. Bins. Well, I guess it doesn't matter because I'm going to have to import it into this one anyway. Well, fine, be that way. All right, I need those bins. So import bins from data/responses.js. All right, so the bins contains my histogram bins. So we're going to say this dot bins equal to bins, or sorry, this dot histogram dot bins. All right. Could probably do a better job of all this, but all right. So then we're ditching this one, and we're going to say get not GFC.
I can't say that on the internet.
Not GFC. All right, so this dot histogram data. Okay, so get data set data. I guess I don't really need a get data. I think I can get away with just set data. So usually when it comes to attributes and properties, you see a lot, they tend to recommend that you use an attribute and a property, and it leads to stuff like this, where you create a property called value so that you can get the attribute value, and then you set a property value so that you can set the attribute value.
That seems like extra work.
It is extra work, and if you're making very generic, supposed to be used by anybody type web components,
yeah.
it's probably a good practice to follow.
But this is a little more specific.
This is a little more specific. I don't care as much. I'm just trying to get it working.
Just here so you don't get fined.
Just here so I don't get fined. This dot data is equal to new value. And then we need to update the chart. So I want to say that Chart.js has an update method. Chart.js update, updating charts. Okay. So I can say this dot chart dot data data sets 0 dot data is equal to new value, and then this dot chart dot update. All right.
Okay, so.
And I will explain all this in a minute.
You're good.
I don't know if that's going to do anything, but we're going to find out. Yeah, I didn't think so. Maximum call stack exceeded. Oh, yeah, that would do it, wouldn't it? That would cause that issue. Okay, so we do need a getter for this one. Data, return this data. That'll do. Okay, there we go. All right, so nothing seems to have happened. All right, so.
Isn't this involved to implement this in ServiceNow?
Not quite, because ServiceNow is using a more robust framework, and so a lot of the boilerplate is removed so that you can focus on the behaviors.
Okay. I want to do this in one of our apps that I've built a portal out for GlideFast. And I also have a few other uses in mind for it.
Render. All right, so we are calling render a couple times. Good. But my chart is not updating the way I would expect. So this .histogram .data, this .histogram .bins, okay. So let's see what my new value is.
God bless the soul that invented console.log.
Right.
Like.
Oops, I want these store.dispatches. I don't want this additional console log.
That is like the first thing, or one of the first things I do when troubleshooting. And I can actually get pretty far in troubleshooting with that. Then if I can't figure it out, I just like comment out the entire server script and see if it's that.
Okay, let's try, maybe I'm missing, maybe I need to do the getter and setter for bins as well. Maybe it's because the property getter setter doesn't exist. This dot bins return set bins new value. This dot bins this dot bins is equal to new value. Let's move the update function because we don't want to rebuild that chart more than we have to. So let's create a method. I should probably could have done it in there too in all reality. This dot chart update. So now what I need is to set that, this dot histogram render did I not set? Oh, because I didn't set the chart. This dot chart dot data.
That sounds important.
Come to think of it, I don't even need this guy here. I'm just going to return this guy. And likewise on bins, what I need is not that guy. What I need is this chart.data.labels is equal to new value dot map. And if you remember correctly, each bin has a low and a high.
Yeah, yeah.
So what I need to do is I need to convert that object to a string. So that's going to be bin.low plus that guy plus bin.high. And this chart.labels. Boom, there we go.
Nice, there it is.
All right. So what I did here was I've got my store, okay? Whenever I dispatch, which you can see by my event queue over here,
Yeah.
okay? Every time I dispatch an event, the result is that it will call any subscribers, okay? So when I dispatch these, it calls subscribe, which calls self.render. Self.render gets my histogram states, gets the and then it sets the properties, this.histogram data, this.bins, and then calls render on the histogram child element. Okay. Now, if you're using something like React, lit element, stuff like that, a lot of times you don't have to do this style of calls on render because I'm using vanilla web components. I don't have a framework that is piggybacking the templates. You know, there's nothing doing the heavy lifting, so I have to do the DOM manipulation myself. Now, that said, all things considered, I feel like there are a lot of cases, like the one I'm currently in, where a framework would probably be a lot of unnecessary stuff for this.
Yeah.
So
you'd basically be adding 10,000 lines of code for like 20 that you actually would use.
you'd be pulling in a whole data kit that you're now dependent on
Yeah.
when you could have just written a small vanilla component to do what you needed. Um, and that was part of my experiment here, was to see how far I could get on vanilla components, especially when you're using a Redux style store.
Oh yeah.
Um,
See how far
and
you could take it without the dependency on all that other mess.
right, and realistically, I could technically make every single component a listener on the store.
Yeah.
Like I could, instead of inheriting from you see this extends HTML element.
Yeah.
I could technically create a base element, which is all lit element, polymer, and all the others do. They expose a base element. I could create my own base element that made every element listen directly to the store. And I could have a fully event-driven dispatch and listen for certain events.
Yeah.
And that's honestly kind of how ServiceNow's UX system works. There's a central Redux store, actions get dispatched, and then there's a couple other hard wirings in there for the ServiceNow components. So it's really not that hard when you get down to it. But so what happens here is when render is called, it sets the histogram data property, set data. Okay, it's going to call this setter, which is going to manipulate my Chart.js object. Then it does the same thing to bins. It sets the bins to the new bins. Set bins.
Yeah.
Sets the new bins. And then it calls the render function on that histogram element,
which makes it go ta-da,
which calls the update function on Chart.js.
Oh, okay.
So with this, I can now create a couple of additional histograms. Now this is going to require a little more schmancy footwork, because what I'm going to have to do here is, instead of doing just one, I'm going to have to do a for each for the children. So what we're going to end up with is I'm going to have to iterate through each of the, do I still have it? No, I commented it out. Let's reload. No, it wasn't that one. No, it's gone forever. This get histograms function returns that object that has parent and children.
Yeah.
Now I have to iterate through the children and basically create a salary histogram for each of those.
Yeah.
So let's see if I can whip that out real quick. Because we're using the same histogram component for each of them. We're just passing different properties.
So will it be like a for each loop thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So first of all, I'm going to add, in addition to our all right, so we're going to have a salary histogram. I'm going to add a div around this. So now you're starting to see the template coming into play here. My inner HTML is basically my template. And again, I want to say that ServiceNow uses a render function like this, and you actually put your template in the render function.
That's what I was just thinking. That's what that sounds like you've told me. Because didn't you tell me that all a service portal widget is really all in a JavaScript, and the JavaScript like parses out the different parts of it.
Your
so all the parts within one big
Yes, yes. Your HTML, your CSS, your JavaScript controller, it's all in a single component file. Very similar to this. There are differences, obviously, but then we're going to say div class is equal to, and we'll do slash div children histograms. All right. Now, when I call that render function, I'm going to need this dot histograms is equal to this dot query selector children histograms. All right, here goes nothing. Histogram data dot children dot for each all right, so this will actually be our histogram data. So for each of our children, we're going to hit the histogram data, and we kind of have to do something very similar here.
Grab the bins and the
Yep,
data and all that.
correct. We've got to all right, so here's what we're going to do. So for each one, all right, so first we're going to have to clear this dot children histograms dot inner HTML. I'm going to blow it off. I'm going to eliminate it completely. Then we're going to, let's see, append HTML maybe. Append. I need the right DOM manipulation for this. What am I looking for? DOM append string. Can I just append it as a string, or do I have to go through all the... Insert adjacent HTML div before end. All right, well, let's take a look at this particular function. Insert.
Are you TLARing it?
Position. Perfect. Relative to the element. All right, so let's try that. All right, so here's what we need. This dot children histograms dot insert adjacent HTML before end, and I'm going to insert a salary histogram tag. Does it return anything? Doesn't seem to return anything.
Do you need it to return something?
Not necessarily. I was kind of hoping it would. Would save me some trouble. Salary histogram. I find it crazy that you type so many variable element names instead of copy pasting them and you get them correct. That's an anomaly. I am well known for my glider record. God. Half the reason I once created an API called Glider, and the reason was because every time I tried to type glide record, I would get glider record, and it got so bad that for a little while, my editor was like auto completing it for me. It was auto completing it the wrong way.
I'm being extra careful because I know I'll make fun of you for your misspellings.
Yes, exactly.
For the record, I've seen this in like out-of-box ServiceNow code where they have misspelled an element or something like that and then carried it throughout the entire widget code, and I'm like, guys, what are you doing?
Template literal. Lets me insert directly into it. That's what I was looking for. Okay. Does that help me? Yes, it does. So what I want is histogram, and then I can use my template literals to post an index. I do need to make it an actual template literal though. There we go. So this is one cool thing. You know how a lot of times you have to do string plus something plus string?
Yeah.
Template literals are an ES6 utility that lets you use backticks. This guy up here, up in the top left corner. And you can use this little $ syntax in order to inject variables without having to concatenate with the plus.
Oh, that's
yes.
fancy.
You got it. You got it. So, and the reason why I did this little ID is so that I can do
that?
What?
The little thing.
I've done a lot of reading on ES6.
Okay. And how did you know that was called a backtick?
Because I read a lot on ES6.
Well, nobody knows what that is. That's that forgotten key in the corner of your keyboard that gets like
query selector
overridden for some kind of gaming macro.
Histogram dash IX, and I need to backtick that one again.
So it's dash $ brackets IX.
Okay, so that should get me. Actually, wait a second. I need hashtag. Okay.
Backtick comes from
var.
Slack a lot. I've not used it in Slack. What does it do? Now I need to know.
Backtick comes from using Slack a lot. Let's find out. I don't know. I don't know. What's the backtick do in Slack? Formats the text as code. What? All right, that's cool.
Do it.
Well, not right now.
Oh, fine.
I'm trying to wrap this up.
Yeah, you are. Your wife's tired.
All right, so here's what.
Here's
what I'm doing. I'm inserting a new salary histogram element with a specific ID.
Yes.
I am then getting that ID, or getting the element with that ID. Then I am doing histogram dot data is equal to histogram data, which is coming from here. actually,
I don't think above you had that as, no, you had that, there was a dot.
oh,
Parent?
object dot values children.
That's a long string of things.
That children was an object. And yeah, it's a long string, and normally I would break it up and clean it up, but again,
Your wife's tired and you don't care.
exactly. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to iterate through the values of that child object, of the children object, which should be a series of arrays.
Yeah.
So this here, object, this guy right here, should give me an array of arrays. This gives me the array of data because I'm doing for each.
Yeah.
So for each of those inner arrays,
And then it's
set it to
grabbing
data.
information from, yeah.
Histogram dot bins is equal to bins. Histogram dot render, and that should do it. Hey, Andrew. That's all right. We're going to be wrapping up soon anyway. Cannot read property. Children histograms of undefined.
You gotta define it, dude. Children histograms? Children always getting in the way.
Query selector. This dot children histograms equal to I don't know, let's just see if it was the CSS.
It's always the CSS, man.
Cannot read property children histograms of undefined in array for each. Oh, wait a second. I betcha.
Is it the brackets?
No, I'm wondering if it's the this context again, not passing. So it should be self dot children histograms and self children dot histograms, and problem solved. So now I've got the parent, child 1, child 2, child 3.
Oh, we need to put some color on them things. That's killing me.
We'll get there. So this is taking that get histograms object. What's that?
If you like it, then you should make a var.
If you like it, then you should make a var of it. Now I'm going to want to try and come up with a song.
If you like it, then, yeah. Man, that would make a great t-shirt.
You'll have to add it to your stack of ideas.
Oh my gosh, I've got so many ideas. I need to make us some cool shirts. ServiceNow developers do not have near enough cool shirts.
So I do have a few things left that I want to do for the histograms. I'm not going to do it tonight, but obviously each of these histograms needs a title.
Yeah.
We haven't passed title to it yet.
No.
If we take a look at this guy, let's pull this out and put it back down here where it was. So if I reload this, inspect.
Inspection.
So this object here, nope. Oh, state is not defined. Store.getState is defined though. Do it again. There we go. All right, so this is the get histograms object here. So basically the parent is going to be our, there we go. The parent is going to be our selected node. So it's going to be the distribution of whatever our current filter is. So in this case, this is the whole data set. The second chart here is going to be child number 1, which is overcast. This one is child number 2, which is rainy, and this one is child number 3, which is sunny. So we're going to have to provide those names in order to provide some context, but what we have here should work regardless of what I select. So for example, you know, that one gave me 3, but let's look at our responses. Let's select Windy. Let's select Windy instead, because Windy only has 2 children. So if I come in here and I say, where did I need to go for this one? App.js. So if I select, all right, filter added, filter removed, property selected. If I select Windy instead of Outlook and reload, 1, 2, 3 charts. So now I've got 3 charts instead of 4. Parent, true, and false.
Okay.
See, so now when I'm clicking on something, which doesn't exist yet, but when I click on a property, it's going to dispatch this selected.
Oh, so you'll be able to click into, oh, that's fancy.
So I will have a tree of properties off to the left-hand side, and when I click, it will dispatch the property that I clicked, which will automatically re-render these inner nodes.
Yeah, so you can like dive down into whatever you want to look at.
Yep. So for example, let's create a global level function real quick. And all it's going to do is do a dispatch, and it's going to switch it to Windy. And I don't know if this is going to work or not, so this should be fun. So basically what's going to happen here, and you'll see if I open this guy up, I've got a salary histogram and 3 children. And if I run the click it function, it dispatches, and now I have a salary histogram and 2 children.
That's cool.
So that's basically what's going to happen once I have the tree of properties set up. Is it's going to execute that function. Executing that function will dispatch the action to my store. My app component is listening to the store through subscription, and it will then render those histograms.
That's badass.
And so they'll automatically re-render and re-update as I build this stuff as I build this stuff out.
And from what I saw on the front end, there are like little animations as it loads and everything.
Very cool. Nice job. You guys are good dev teams. He's keeping you sharp, making you talk it through, which helps you think about it more clearly. Oh yeah, I've told her every time we do this that she joins me, I tell her it's much better to have her here because she asks questions that I don't really think of, and it makes me stop and think about it, which makes me explain it. And if I don't understand it, it makes me learn it. Which is just better for all of us. It's better for me. It's better for you guys that are watching, because you guys get to see more stuff and get to hear more and you know go through the whole process with us. So
learn more about this.
Yes, learn more about this. That this keyword is going to kill me.
Oh yeah, you've like yourself for life on that one, buddy.
But Yeah, so I mean, you can see the visuals starting to come
Oh
together
yeah,
now.
that's really cool.
In fact, oh God, I have to.
What are you gonna do?
I have to. One more thing.
One more
One
thing.
more thing.
One more. You know what?
No, 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 no. It's styling.
Yeah. Okay.
You're gonna like it.
Okay.
You're gonna like it.
Change that title so it's not Times New Roman.
I'm not doing that. Children histograms needs to be Flexbox.
Yay, Flexbox! If y'all don't know about Flexbox, I have got a gospel word for you.
Flex direction row.
It's
Think.
automatically row.
That's fine. I like specifying it anyway.
Yeah, I do too, but you know. There you go.
So now you've got the parent and you've got the children side by side. So now when I throw the titles in there, we'll be able to clean, if only there was a front-end designer handy.
If only.
If only.
None here.
So, and then of course, when I do the click it, which I think I still have in there. Ready?
Should be two, right?
Yep. Boom.
What? That's cool.
So now, once I add the component that gives me the list of properties and their variances, I'll be able to add a click behavior that dispatches the event to the store, and I don't even have to touch this stuff anymore. This is now built. I can be done with this for the most part. You know, I've got to add the titles. You'll yell at me about fonts and a couple other things. But, you know, functionality-wise, the histograms are there. If I replace this data with survey dates, salary survey data, it'll update.
Please take it somewhere and go away before you accidentally mess it up.
That's a good point. I should make a copy of this. If only there was a version control system out there that would make it easy for me to commit updates to something so that I could roll back if I made mistakes. I wish somebody would build that sort of thing.
Dude, like, even my, like, uneducated posterior knows about Git. Why are you not doing it? Because you're lazy and you haven't made the time for it.
It doesn't even take
No
long. There are no excuses. I just haven't done it.
I have a Git repository with my one little update set in it that's there for people to look at. Okay, you can do this. But not now because we're going to bed because I'm tired. Do I need to put a post-it note on your screen or something?
Man, I am being chastised by somebody that I taught.
Yep. You didn't teach me everything, though.
No, I did not. I
took that one class in web design.
Man, you've learned a lot since I taught you. You've come a long way over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
You've gotten daggone sharp on your own right in this stuff. Do not sell yourself short.
I still hate JavaScript, but I'll probably hate that forever.
Oh, you gonna get to like it in the new UX framework.
Oh, no, that's gonna be a love-hate relationship. That's gonna be an arranged marriage where I
Yeah. Andrew's got it. Tortoise SVN. That's it. That's that version control system.
I don't know what you're talking about.
She just died inside.
Y'all don't confuse me.
But yeah, so next time I will be able to create a new component, which will be the list of properties, which will have the click. On click, it'll call this little dispatch is all it has to do. All it has to do is dispatch that I selected that property. I'll add some capability to change the filters through clicks. And my histograms already listen to the store, so they will automatically get the updates required and refresh based on the new data.
Oh my goodness, I can make the most amazing dashboard for FastGov with this. For those of you who don't know, I'm working my background's in government administration, and I am working with our teams at GlideFast and Veracode to build out an offering for state and local governments to provide digital services. And I love the idea of using this for like a dashboard for mayors and department directors and all that.
Oh yeah.
Because like the reports are there in ServiceNow, but this is sexy. And sex sells. But I digress.
One thing I will say, from my research on the new UX framework, for what it's worth, and also from within AngularJS.
The new hotness.
So you can technically still use web components. Web components are built into the browser. So you could kind of use them in either place. In fact, if you were to build what you wanted as a web component in Service Portal, and the UX framework decided to make a portal competitor, say a year from now,
like you do,
hypothetically, then you would be able to take that web component, pull it out of Service Portal, put it in the new UX framework, and it would still work.
And I'd probably just have to cuss about whatever ingrained CSS they put in there I have to fight with.
So, and that's one of the beauties of web components, and one of the things that I've come to absolutely love about them, aside from that whole IE 11, that whole IE quirk. Daggone IE, it just won't go away.
Facts.
Andrew says more like 6 months.
Man, don't say that. This means I have to learn JSX, and I'm just getting the hang of JavaScript.
Oh yeah, that would be 6 months. I'm counting from the wrong part of the year. Yeah, you're right. More like 6 months.
The part of the year where we got to go out and leave our caves and be people.
I'm thinking about from when I wrote the articles when I was actually looking into the UX framework. My mind went back from that time, and it was 1 year from that time. It is 6 months from the current time. But those articles are still accurate so far.
Yeah, it kills me because it was shortly after that I did my design presentation, and someone asked me, was Service Portal going to go away anytime soon? And I'm like, nah, I mean, it's coming, but we're all right. And now I'm like, oh, shit, it's coming for me.
My big question, Jace, welcome, Jace. For
charts and graphs and graphics.
Yeah, we managed to figure it out. We got the components wired up, and it is now working.
Well, you figured it out, and I made
tons. But one thing, going back to what we were talking about on the new UX framework, one thing that I am really curious on is if this hypothetical release in about 6 months that may or may not include a portal competitor built on the new UX framework. What I'm curious to see is, will this release be the, what was it, Geneva Service Portal release? I think it was Geneva was the rough start, and Helsinki was when it really took over.
Yeah, we don't talk about Geneva.
I want to say that's how it went. And I'm curious to see if the new UX framework's replacement has a Geneva release or not. Because with Workspaces already leveraging it, they may actually be able to take off running in the next release where they hypothetically may or may not be including it.
You keep saying hypothetical. I don't think that word means.
Oh yeah, Jace, I agree. I think the new UX stuff is really slick. I've really enjoyed what I've been looking into.
I'm just whining because I have to learn something different.
hypothetically, yeah, Andrew, exactly. The new UI builder allows you to build pages um,
Agent workspace?
for the agent workspaces, but they're supposed to be coming out with a new portal canvas as opposed to the agent workspace canvas. UI builder will still be running the show, and you'll be able to drag and drop your components onto it. So, I mean, in theory, everything's already built and everything's already there, and all it's going to take is the only question remaining is, does the market share drive to it, or does the market share sit on Service Portal for a little while longer? And I'm curious to see how the market responds to it. Because, I mean, initially I thought that they would have that rough period. And if you go back to the articles I was writing on this one in response to Jace's, calling these shots step for step, that was one of the things I was speculating on back then as well, was would there be a rough start? And at this point, it doesn't look like there's going to be, because they've had such a warm rolling start on the agent workspace side. So they've had a lot of time to work the bugs out. They've had a lot of time to experiment and expose and build. And I think that's really kind of a testament to how ServiceNow has been refining some of their releases as they've gone. The UX framework existed in ServiceNow, and it existed in Agent Workspace before we ever had access to it or really even knew it was there.
Yeah.
There wasn't much we could do with it originally, and they just slowly exposed new stuff. And, by the time, unless you're diving into it and pulling it apart or paying attention to the right knowledge sessions at the right time, you'd completely miss this stuff.
Ooh, you got private DM from Jace.
Sent you a private DM on Slack. Check it out later. I definitely will.
Yeah, I think that this is just my personal opinion. You probably know better than I do because I've been doing this 2 years now. I think that the speed at which you see the market transition from Service Portal to the new hotness is going to be dependent on a couple of things. One, it's going to be dependent on how much you can customize things in the new framework, because they want custom, as you've seen with some of the mess that's got thrown my way. And then I think it's going to depend on how painful the transition is. For people that already have Service Portal set up, who already have custom functionality in those portals set up, how painful is it going to be to transition?
Yeah, and that's really going to be what's interesting to see, is how the market responds to it. I'm real curious to see how that goes.
Oh, I have not got to look at any of that.
I've seen some of the components. I haven't seen as many as I would like to see, but it's I know that there's a lot of folks that have really dug into it, and I just haven't been one of them. I just haven't. I've still been on Service Portal for everything.
Well, I mean, it's been one of those things where between the client work and the hurricane and the baby and the everything else going on.
Yeah, salary survey.
You just there's so much.
Hacktoberfest.
See, in the design community, we don't do Hacktoberfest. We do Inktober. We draw every day. I don't draw. I suck at drawing.
But yeah, I mean that's kind of all the talk right now, is that the Portal 1 is coming. I mean, we've been discussing this one since Jace has been discussing it since like last year. I jumped into the conversation around the start of this year. I have made a, Jay says that he hasn't made any components. I have made a dummy component just to say that I did, just to try it out. And it's, I, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I have plans, but stuff.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
have plans,
Andrew
but
said.
stuff.
So basically, Jay says he just brings up rumors. So what I'm hearing is that you are our town gossip.
So
Oh.
one of the things I saw in the knowledge thing, in some of the knowledge sessions where they were talking about all this stuff, was as they were building a component, there was like a preview off to the right hand side, and I haven't done that yet. Does the preview, like, do we have access to the preview capability? So I've seen a lot more. MHZ says that they weren't ready with the components for the longest time. There were so many barriers until recently. Yeah, they've really come a long way with their support for the components from what I've seen. Like I said, the one thing I'm still I still haven't gotten to was the so when you build a component, it makes it locally right. Yeah, so you have to download to make a component. You have to download the npm the Node.js toolkit. Um, okay, so if you're developing a component, you'll see it on a web page locally on localhost as you develop it. Okay,
Well, that's nice.
so I don't think I had done that yet. I built one and then I deployed it up and then I viewed it and it worked, which was great because if it didn't, it would have been much harder to troubleshoot because you have to like push it up as a scoped app. Every component is built within a scoped app basically.
Its own, or all the components have a scope that they go in?
So by default, it's one per scoped app. It's one component per scoped app, but you can technically, by messing with the settings in the npm toolkit, you can technically add, from what I've seen anyway, I haven't experimented with this yet, but I think you can add multiple components and you can define multiple components in a single scoped app. So in a lot of ways, it works similar to what I've been doing with the what's it called? Uh, the VS Code plugin, where you download the scoped app and you work on it locally and then you push it up.
Yeah.
It works similarly to that, but it's a different toolkit specific to the components.
We ought to do a live stream where I sit in the driver's seat and I
Okay,
figure out how to make a component.
Jay says you can make a component and subcomponents part of a scoped thing.
Okay.
So I guess we can't do multiple scopes, or sorry, multiple top level components in the same scope.
Okay. That's interesting.
Oh man, sorry to hear that, Andrew. Hope she feels better. All right.
We've been talking about going to bed for the past 45 minutes, and then we got talking about the new UX framework and got excited, and it just went from there.
Jason
Yeah.
Andrew joined in. That's what it was. Jason Andrew joined in, and the whole stream lit up, and oh man,
Andrew, that's
oh
tough.
sorry to hear that, Andrew. Really hope she starts feeling better, man.
Yeah.
Been trying to get folks to do things I don't want to do.
I'd say you're being successful there. We should, like I said, we should do a live stream where I sit down and I try to figure out how to do a component
Oh, that'll be fun. I'll sit behind you
and laugh at me.
and I won't tell you anything that I figured out along the way. And I'll just laugh.
You know what? If you want to do that, because then when I do figure it out, I can be like, look, I figured it out. I'm going to shorten this video into a how-to, and then you go from there. Nice. All right, it is time.
It is time. So we're going to call it for tonight. Next time, I'm going to add the left-hand bar with the properties and start hooking up the filter actions and the selection actions so that the charts dynamically update, and I can actually, and that really should wrap it up so that I can start analyzing data.
Next time on Code Creative Live.
Next time on Code Creative Live.
I need to finish your branding.
Yeah, right after everything else we got to do,
yeah,
right?
I know.
All right, guys. So that's what we're going to look at doing next time. I think I've got one, maybe two more sessions before we have this tool ready for use and I can start analyzing data. I'll probably have to analyze the data behind the scenes though, just because.
Yeah, you want to be safe about what
Right.
you're doing.
I don't want to select something and have the histogram show one person,
Yeah.
or I don't want people to be able to use my filtering the data as a way to reverse engineer the data.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And for the record, y'all, even I don't get to see this data. He's not letting even me see it. I've not seen any of it.
I haven't even shown her.
No.
I haven't shown anybody.
He did have to confirm for me that I didn't in fact, take the survey, because the survey closed, and I was like, I don't think I took it. I don't remember.
So Jace asked when is next time. So usually when we do it, we try to do it starting between 8 and 9 usually.
Pending children.
PM Central Time.
For those of us on not this.
Yeah, for Andrew it's a completely different time.
Not on this continent.
So yeah, we do try to start between 8 and 9 Central, basically after the kiddos have gone to bed.
I need to put this on like a schedule.
It's not every day because stuff happens, and but given the fact that we're trying to wrap this up this week so I can start analyzing, we probably will be doing it tomorrow sometime between 8 and 9 starting out, and then we usually go till about 10:15, but you know, some nights we get distracted.
Same.
Not pointing any fingers in any particular directions or anything.
Cough. That's fine. So same bat time, same bat channel.
Yeah, no, you'll don't worry, Jace. Even if you did ask for a schedule, you wouldn't actually get one, because
No.
it is whenever life isn't getting in the way.
Our 10-year-old is the most structured and organized person in this house, so.
Yeah. Our 10-year-old is the structured one. Neither one of us are. So the way to make sure Jace knows about it is to blog. Everyone looks to him for blogs now. Yeah, Jace has like the compilation of everything that matters. So, all right, guys, we are going to wrap it up and pack it in. So, thank you guys for joining in and making this session another enjoyable one. Lots of interaction, lots of discussions, and we will see you guys next time. Have a good one.